Okay, let's get started. So, okay, let's open with the prayer. Gracious and merciful Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful time where where we could come together and meditate upon your word and help us to soften our hearts and be open to what you have to say to us and look into the scriptures. And as you have said, read the scriptures and search, and you'll find life in those scriptures. So, God, in this time when we are surrounded by so many things and cares of this world, and Satan is trying to distract us from looking upon you and from your discerning your plan and the purpose for which you have kept us, oh God, and where we stand in those plans. You help us to refocus on your plan. Bless this time of meditation uh, and let us hear your words through the scriptures. We ask all this in the mighty name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, so let me share my screen. Yes. So quickly, can you all see my screen?
Yes, brother.
Okay. So, this was actually the next step of our 1,000 years reign. I had it in Tamil, so I didn't change it to uh, English. But so we saw this. Originally, there was a creation, and God and people were living in perfect harmony, and that would be the end state. Then fall, and the end of the first world flood. Then Abraham, he gave Israel the law, Ten Commandments, and then he set up a kind of a type of the 1,000 years reign of the heavenly kingdom on this earth, and where he set up the people entering into Canaan through Joshua, uh, and then they didn't really follow God and be obedient, so they were taken up as slaves into Assyria and Babylon. And then there is a period of intertestament period, and then Jesus comes and he pays the penalty for the sin, which is kind of the fall and brokenness. To overcome that disobedience, he overcame by mm, obeying God until the cross. And then what we'll see is the second world, which is the current world, will also be destroyed by by fire. That is how it said. And just like in the flood, it will be when we say it is destroyed, all the organizations and all the setup, the arrangements, that is going to be destroyed. And what will remain is the physical earth with all the rivers, mountains, land, everything will be there, just like in the flood. So that is the equivalent of this. And then now, when all these setup are removed, there will be a new setup. And then here, as we have seen, it will be like a full day in the day of the Lord, the judgment day, the 1,000 years. That is what will happen. And at the end of it, there'll be another judgment, and then there'll be God and people in perfect harmony. Okay. Then we went and saw that there are two steps in which God is going to do this in the millennium. So first, He's going to judge the world, and then His people. This we have already saw. That is when we say the world and its arrangements, which is He is going to judge and also to destroy. Then, as a preparation for that, we have seen in the last uh, in our last session that he does six of these things towards the end of the second world, which is kind of a preparation for the next world, which is our time now. And so we saw he's going to pluck up, break down, throw down, and destroy. And also at the same time, he's going to build and he's going to plant. So we have seen that these are the four things through which Satan rules. We can also call this the organizations or the heavenly realms, which govern the second world, which is a current present world. And the king of this present world is Satan, and this is how he has been ruling, and he is ruling politics, society, economics, and religion. And we have seen some specific examples how in the politics the kings have been thrown, and then there are different stages where the people escaped the lion, which is the period of kings. Then they caught into the bear, socialism, and then now we are in a democracy, like the serpent which bites when you keep the hand on the wall. Then the society, again, we have seen how the society is breaking down now. You can see all the same-sex marriages, abortions, and all the ethical things that are moral things that were governing the society. The unwritten rules or the rules are being rewritten, and people are calling what is bad, they are calling it good, and what is good, they are calling it bad. And again, economics, we have seen demonetization, and there'll be a currency, and then everything is going upside down. And finally, religion. Religion is the fourth pillar or the fourth thing to which will be broken down. And at the same time, God is building his church or his temple. And we have seen how these, in order to build this temple, he's gathering his people. And then he's also establishing the nation of Israel, where he has planted and no one can remove. So, and then we finished off with saying, so during these 4 times or these 6 things happening, these were covered in the first few chapters of Revelation, Revelation 1, 2, 3. And we are at the church Laodicea, where he says, here I am, which could also mean that he is here now. His second coming has started, and it is visible only to his people, and who will listen to his voice. And he's knocking at the door, not the physical door, of course, it's the door of our minds and hearts and our knowledge, our brain, and our understanding. And if you open up to him, he will come and commune with us. Yes. So this is what we have seen. So next we'll move on to very interesting thing. We all say when somebody passes away, and somebody says, oh, he's with the Lord, he'll be glorifying Lord. He is with the Lord. What does that mean? So let's discuss who will be with the Lord. Who are those heavenly beings? Does everyone get a chance to go and be with the Lord? So in the setup, in the heavenly kingdom and in the 1,000 years reign, there are 3 categories of people who will be in heaven, which is as a promise to Abraham. He said, your descendants will be like the stars of the sky and the sands of the sea, which is kind of 2 classes of people. One is the heavenly people, the stars. And Daniel also says those who live righteously will be the stars of the heaven. So we'll see who gets to belong to this category of residing in the heavens along with Jesus and ruling during the 1,000 years reign. Okay, so today we'll focus on that. And then the next time when we meet, we'll also see the other class where who will be on the earth. So right now in this, the agenda for this session would be just we'll focus on the heavenly beings. And I think time will permit only to discuss about the groom. We know he is Jesus. So he's the groom, he's the bride, he's the king, he's the head of the church, and we are the body. You can call it whatever way we want. He's the foundation or the cornerstone and the head of the church and the groom. He's referred to as by a number of names, cornerstone, and so these are some of the names we keep adding on it. And then the bride. The bride is nothing but selected people, the church, he's the head, and therefore we will be called the body. And then the class of people will be called the body, and since he's the groom, we can call themselves the bride. And he's the cornerstone, so we can call the stones of the church or the temple that he's building. And then we have this great multitude. So this, when we say the bride, this, let's see what it is and read a verse in Revelation 14, 1-5. I'll read it. Then I looked, and there before me was the Lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a sound from heaven like the roar of rushing waters and like a loud peal of thunder. The sound I heard was like that of harpists playing their harps, and they sang a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders. No one could learn the song except 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. So this 144,000 have been redeemed from the earth. So that is one group. And these are those who did not defile themselves with women, for they remained virgins. And they follow the Lamb wherever he goes. They were purchased from among mankind and offered as first fruits to God and the Lamb. And so these are some of the keywords. No lie was found in their mouths. They are blameless, meaning they are, you can say, truthful till the end. So these are the characteristics of one group of people. Now let's focus on this. This is called the bride. So one thing which we want to focus on is the number is limited. It is only 144,000. And in another verse, it says, it gives the tribes of Judah, where these yes, when we read, there are a number of, there are at least 4 places in Revelation where this number 144,000 comes into picture. Is it like literally should we take literally 144,000, 1, 2, 3, like that we count? Is that all who can be the bride? Is only so many people who have right from, say, Stephen, who was the first martyr. Assuming, we don't want to be judging people, but again, starting from them, we'll have billions of people living in this world. And is it only this 144,000 who gets to be this bride class? Let's see. Or is it something symbolic? As Revelation talks about, is it symbolic? So now I would like to write down another verse, which is Revelation 7, 1-9. Okay, so I'll quickly write it. I didn't have, sorry for doing it now. But this is very interesting. There are multiple interpretations of this. And therefore, I wanted to really let's spend some time looking at these. And there are many interpretations. Maybe we'll get ourselves little bit knowledgeable about this. So here, sorry, it's not readable. So here it is Revelation 7, 1-7. This is the second place where he says about this 144,000, the literal number. Okay, there. So let's dwell a little bit on this. 144,000 sealed. I'll read it. After this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth to prevent any wind from blowing on the land or on the sea or any tree. Okay, so now the angels are holding back those winds. And Then I saw another angel coming out from the east, having the seal of the living God. He called out in a loud voice to the four angels who had been given power to harm the land and the sea. So the four angels in verse 1 are the four angels. They are holding something back. And if they leave that, if they let it go, then it is going to harm the whole earth. And then we have already seen some similar four things that is going to be destroyed. And what they say is, please hold on to it. Do not harm the land or the sea or the trees until we put a seal on the foreheads of the servants of the God. Then I heard the number of those who were sealed, and it was 144,000 of the tribes of Israel. So it says about the tribes of Israel. And then it goes on to list all the tribes. So tribe of Reuben, tribe of Gad, and then it goes on with all the tribes. So one interesting tribe that one of the things that we see here, if you read it deeply, we know the 12 sons of Jacob are the 12 tribes of Israel: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Naphtali, all of these people. So do we have all of them here? Unfortunately or interestingly, we do not have those tribes here. There is one tribe which is missing, and then it is replaced by the tribe of Manasseh, who is nothing but the son of Joseph. So one interpretation says, or one group of people say, oh, we cannot belong to this group of 144,000. We have to be the children of Jacob, or these are only the Jews who are there. So if you see here, there is one tribe which is missing. Do anyone know which tribe is that? It is the tribe of Dan. Missing Dan. Okay, so let's see. So this may not be the physical tribe of the 12 descendants of Dan. So why is Dan missing? So what it could symbolically mean is each of these tribes will have a characteristics. So Reuben, this is how he'll be. So going all the way back to Genesis, I really have to look for the verse where Genesis, when, let me quickly turn, when Jacob blesses all his 12 tribes just before his death. So Genesis Genesis 49:16. He says, Dan will provide justice for the people. Dan will be like a snake on the roadside, a viper along the path that bites the horse's heels so that its rider tumbles backward. And this is what he says about Dan. It is not a good blessing. He says he is going to really do justice, means he is going to try the people, and that is why Dan is missing. If you read along all of those in 49:16, then for all the blessings that Jacob gives, they are good blessings. And we could symbolically consider them as the characteristics of the people who would form this group of 12 tribes, adding up to 144,000. So what my take on this is, you can also have verify that or validate that, is this: they are not going to be only from the physical descendants of Jacob, the 12 tribes, like from this, because there is one tribe which is missing. And then again, you can look up what is missing is Dan, and included in that is Manasseh. And you also have Joseph. You have Joseph, and one of the sons of Joseph, who has replaced uh, Dan. So if you read that same, you'll see why he takes the place of Dan. Okay, so Dan is replaced by Manasseh. So that is one thing about this 144,000 is one thing we have not yet seen whether it is a literal number, but what we know is they have some specific characteristics. So when we consider this bride, like the bride is the body, all the body parts are not doing the same job. Each one has its own work to do. So they cannot do the same thing. So they are slightly different. Okay. So that is one thing which he says here about the 144,000 and 7 Revelation 7, 1 to 9. So even though it says about the physical thing, there are people who were eligible, but then they don't get to come into this group, which means even though we are called and we are sanctified and we are eligible to be part of this 144,000, if we become like Dan, if we are like Dan, we may miss out. So that is the key lesson. All the tribes were born to Jacob, but one of them fell out from this great blessing to be the bride. Okay, so that is the lesson which I want to emphasize. Even though we are all sons of Jesus, sons of God, if we have these certain characteristics, then we'll be falling off. Okay, and now what happens to this bride? Now we're switching gears. I wanted to cover at least this bride. We'll see a few other verses of what this bride is. And then we'll see if we can conclude whether it is a literal number. Then we'll move on to another verse, as we have seen in him as seen this group as the bride. So this Song of Songs, which is a love story, he says in 2:9, my beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing through the windows, peering through the lattice. My beloved spoke and said to me, arise, my darling, my beautiful one, come with me. See, the winter is past, the rains are over and gone. Flowers appear on the earth, the season of singing has come, the cooing of doves is heard in our land. The fig tree forms its early fruit, the blossoming vines spread their fragrance. Arise, come, my darling, my beautiful one, come with me. So here, the groom calls the bride and he says, come away with me. Now, this bride is sleeping, and then he peers through the windows, it says. So if you see, this is the message to the church of Laodicea. He says, here I am, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me. So now Jesus is coming to get his bride. And if you consider this 144,000, these are the people who realize that their beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall. And this wall could also mean our physical earthly body. And if we want to go away with the groom, then we have to die, or we cannot inherit a heavenly kingdom with our fleshly or earthly body. Maybe it is a glorified body, just like Jesus had one after his resurrection. So that is what it means. And again, if you see, the winter is past, the rains are over and gone, he says. So winter is a time which is early spring. This is the time when it is early spring. And again, one more key thing here is these are the things that happen during early spring. Flowers appear on the earth. The season of singing has come. The cooing of doves is heard in our hand. The fig tree forms its early fruit. If you see, this is something where we have two harvests. If you look at the people they are called first fruits, which is like the 50th day, which is also called Pentecost, after Jesus was resurrected from Easter, the 50th day. So the first crops. So whenever the Israelites or the Jewish people sow their land, initially they'll get a crop. In that, they'll bring it into the temple as an offering, like the tithe, the first thing. And that is the first fruit. And then what happens? They keep on growing and they keep growing. And at the end, near uh, somewhere in autumn, before the fall, is when the big harvest happens and all the grains are brought into the storage place, the granaries. So two things happen in the life of a farmer in Jews. First is the first fruits he takes and he gives it to God, and then the whole rest of the things he uses for himself or he stores it. So now this 144,000 people are the first fruits, which is really the heavenly class. And they are given to God and they live with God. They are part of God's body. That is how we read this. And then second, there are some special people. So this 144,000, it's in Peter, they have in First Peter 6 to 9, if you read 6 to 9, it says, in all this you greatly rejoice. So let me go back to, I think I'll take a little bit time if you, another 4 more verses and we are done. So he gives one, so he writes here. So Peter, as we have seen, Peter was one of the uh, like very close person, outspoken and really into everything. And he says, when he writes, right in the beginning, he says, to God's elect, exiles scattered throughout the provinces of all these places, who have been chosen according to the foreknowledge of God the Father through the sanctifying work of the Spirit, to be obedient to Jesus Christ and sprinkled with his blood. So all this we can take. Grace and peace be to you. So he addressing a specific group of people. It's not just like Peter, he writes letters to specific churches. Now Peter is addressing this class of 144,000, or the bridal class. Okay. He says, grace and peace be yours in abundance. Praise be to the God, the Father, Jesus Christ. In his might, he has given us new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and unto an inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade. This inheritance is kept in heaven for you. So this is the key word. I think I think it is 4. He says this is very key, because we are talking about heavenly people. This inheritance is kept in heaven for you. This is verse 4. Who through faith are shielded by God's power until the coming of the salvation that is ready to be revealed in the last time. In all this you greatly rejoice, through now for a little while you may have to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of a greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. Yes, so I'll just call. I'm not sharing this. Yes. Okay, this goes on, and this is what. Okay, so this is what Peter is talking about. This people. What we have to focus here is this is kept in heaven for you. So they are going to. He specifically addresses some people who will be in heaven. And these people, some important characteristics is that refined by fire, your faithfulness, your faith, genuineness of your faith, That is the key. Genuineness of your faith is refined by fire. Okay, let's keep that in mind. So these are people who are really tried and tested, and they are proving worthy to God. So how many of us can belong to this? Let's examine ourselves. We see so many people: Peter crucified, Paul crucified, all the apostles crucified, martyrs uh, along the generations, during church age, during the Pope age. Many people were martyrs. They were slain, they were burnt like stakes, they were did so many things. But until the last, they kept their faith. Okay, so could that be only 144,000 people who are really worthy of that? That is one question. And we will be refined by fire, and then we have to keep our faith. The next characteristics, and okay, for now we'll skip this. Genesis 3:15, it says about the seed of the woman, the verses. So this is also what we call the bride. Usually there is one thing that we say: the seed of the woman is Jesus Christ. It is not only Jesus Christ, it is Jesus Christ along with the bride. So that would be the seed of the woman, which says he will crush your head and you will bruise his heel. So if we qualify to be this bride, this 144,000, what is the refinement by fire? Satan will bite. So this is what we also call in Tamil Kudingal Sabai, they'll say the church, the last part of the church, which is the seventh church. So Satan is really going to bite the heel of this church. Okay, and it is referred to as bride. And again, we'll have three more verses, or four more verses, and we'll end. So 1 John 4:4. You, dear children, are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. Okay, so this is another definition or characteristics which God says. So you, dear children, are from God and overcome them. Them is the Satan, which I talked about, the seed, and then it says because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. So these people have Jesus in them, and they are going to overcome the world. They are not and then when you say overcome, then there is going to be a fight. And then again in Luke 21:12, he says, so all of the gospels towards the end, they talk about 1,000 years reign, or the second coming of Christ. So where do you want to search? You can search towards the end of the gospels. Matthew 24 talks about the end of the world, same way Luke 21 and 12. So here it says before all this, what is that? All this is what he talks about. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes, famines, pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. But before all this, they will seize you and persecute you. They will hand you over to synagogues and put you in prison, and you will be brought before kings and governors, and all on account of my name. And so you will bear testimony to me. But make up your mind not to worry beforehand how you will defend yourselves, for I will give you words and wisdom that none of your adversaries will be able to resist or contradict. You will be betrayed even by parents, brothers, sisters, relatives, and friends, and they will put some of you to death. Everyone will hate you because of me, but not a hair of your head will perish. Stand firm, and you will win, and you will win life. So this is a great characteristics of the of the 144,000 that Jesus talks about here in the Revelation. So this is what I read, and some of you, and they will put some of you to death, even this. So it says, even unto death, if we are, this is going to happen, and before the last time or tribulation. Okay, and as we know, these people, okay, let's, so this is a very special class of bride. And again, we'll see 1 Corinthians 3:13. Yes, this is, okay, so from 11, I will say, okay, these are all flowing in a context and in a similar flow. If you see, so what we have seen there in the previous, uh, we have seen, um, you will be brought before kings and governors on account of one day. You will bear testimony before me. Your adversaries will be contradicting you, but not a hair. Everyone will hate you because of me, but not a hair of your head will perish. Stand firm, and you will win life. And in Corinthians, it says in First Corinthians 3:13, it says, "For no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ." So now it talks about the church. If anyone builds on this foundation using gold, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw. So we want to, so what it means is everybody wants to build upon the foundation of Christ. But what happens is some of them build on this foundation using gold, some of them silver, some of them precious stones which reflect, some of them wood, hay, and straw. Okay, so this is how people build on the foundation of Christ. Their work will be shown for what it is, because the day will bring it to light. It will be revealed with fire. So who do you think will withstand? Only those who built on the foundation using gold, silver, and costly stones. When it is refined by fire, it will be even more brighter. It will be even more purer. But those who built using wood, hay, and straw, of course, it will go in flames. It will be destroyed. So again, these are all the people who are called, but then only some of them who build using gold, silver, and costly stone, Paul says, will remain there. And he says, if ye have built, if you what you have built survives, the builder will receive a reward. If it is burnt up, the builder will suffer loss, but yet will be saved. So this is very key. Just hold on to this, and we'll talk about it in the next thing. But still, they will be saved. That is what it says. Those who build on wood, hay, and straw, even though only as one escaping through the flames. Okay, they are not going to be polished, refined, or made even brighter by the flame, but they'll be just managed to escape the flames. Don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwell in your midst? So, what is it? We have a foundation and we are called to build on that foundation. And we have two options. One is build using gold, silver, or costly stones, so that when fire comes, we'll reflect, we'll become even more purer, we'll be refined, or we can barely manage to escape. Hold on to that one. And then the last one is Amos 4:12. it says, get prepared to meet your Lord. Okay, so we'll end with this, and then I want to summarize. So these are the characteristics of the 144,000, and looking from this, therefore, this is what I will do to you, Israel, and because I will do this to you, Israel, prepare to meet your God. So there is a special class of people, of heavenly bodies, heavenly people, who maybe this 100 who are called in Revelation as 144,000, but going by this description, I strongly believe that 144,000 people among all these uh, thousands of years, maybe 2,000 years, if we really see, that is a very large number. It's not a small number, because in our generation, maybe we can talk about the Stains from Australia who were martyred, burnt alive, and only a handful in each generation. So this 144,000, uh, we do not know. If there are certainly not 144,000 generations from 2020. So in we have 2,000 years. Normally, one generation, if you say, is 100 years. 2,000 generation is 2,000 years is nothing but 20 generations. And if you really look at in each generation, how many people, or in one lifetime, or even if it is like 50 generations, we do not know if these class of people were really refined, were really lived up to God. But those are the one special class, the bride. And let us not, we are also called to be that. And here it says in Peter, it says, some of you will be, they will put some of you to death. So not everybody gets a chance to die for Christ. It is a privilege to die for Christ as much as it is a privilege to live for Christ. And these people, we have to examine ourselves, and we may not get a chance to die for Christ, but what is our attitude? Are you ready? Even if given this privilege, will you grab it or will you shy away? Will you really go forward and say, yes, I want to meet God and I'm ready to die? I will not fall back because of this refining fire. Then I think we can be part of this bride, and the selection is not over, as we'll see when, and the second group. So let me end with this. There is another group which you can read. Maybe I think it would be relevant to close with that. There is another group, the great multitude. So there is a difference between this bride and this great multitude. Both of them are in the heavens with Jesus, but they are a different class. They are not equal to this bride or the church, even though they are also called to be, to belong to the church. Not all of them. Let's close this by reading Revelation chapter 7, and then verses uh, we'll end here. The other class, which is called the multitude, if you read Revelation 7, right after he talks about this 12 tribes, he talks in the from 9th verse. So first in Revelation 7, we have seen he talks about the 12 tribes. So Revelation 7, starting from verse 9, if you have your Bible, you can look into this and let me read it. And after this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. They were wearing white robes and were holding palm branches in their hands. And they cried out in a loud voice, "Salvation belongs to our Lord who sits on the throne and to the Lamb." And all the angels were standing around the throne and around the elders and the four living creatures. They fell down on their faces before the throne and worshiped God, saying, Amen, praise and glory and wisdom and thanks and honor and power and strength be to God. So this is what they do. Then one of the elders asked, "These in white robes, who are they and where did they come from?" So if you see this, he's asking, who are these great multitude? So earlier we saw that 144,000. Now this is another group. And John said, "Sir, you know, and these are they who have come out of the great tribulation." Okay, so this is the people who get caught in the tribulation. They don't go away with Christ when he calls, when he knocks at the door. We'll see that in detail in the next class, how they miss out in the next class, in the next session, sorry. How they miss out, though they were also called to be brides, they could have easily been in the bridal class, but they miss out somewhere, they miss out. Let's see where they miss out and what happens to them. Okay, I would have given it a little bit. These were people who built their buildings not on with the precious stones, but rather with the wood or hay. Probably that could be it. So this immediately he talks about this great multitude, which nobody could number. So I'll end with this, and may God bless these thoughts. So summarizing, Christ, bride, multitude. So when somebody dies or somebody passes away, we say he's in heaven. He could be the bride or he could be the multitude.